You notice that Michael durst not bring a railing accusation against him, right? See, durst not means he doesn't dare. Michael, you know how much stronger he is than you? And guess what? Archangels, they're supposed to be in a sinless state, right? What makes you think you're more capable than Michael the archangel? That's why if Michael had better sense, I would triple my security more than Michael the archangel. So that's how you handle satanic forces. You don't pray all the power and go against them. No. You pray and let God handle them. So we wrote down 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. That is part of spiritual warfare, is Satan is more interested in attacking you, not at situations around you, not at people around you, not the false prophets, not the false churches, because they already got the devil. He wants you. You're going to be aware of spiritual warfare. You have to look at self first beyond anything else. And that will prevent you from shooting out your mouth, from doing something and causing something wrong. A lot of people rush ahead of the will of God because they feel like they're confident about their spiritual walk. And that's where Satan gets you. The Bible warns you about take heed lest ye fall when you think that you're so spiritual. Paul warned that at the book of Galatians. If any man think he be spiritual, take heed lest he fall. So 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, he's looking for something. So that's why you have to be always, what coincides with prayer is watching. And that's found at Ephesians 6 and Matthew chapter 24. So we can look at Ephesians 6, for example, real quick here. So notice it mentioned verse 18 again, watching thereunto with all perseverance. So I want to warn not just Bible-believing members, but pastors too. Sometimes they jump the gun, shoot off something that they shouldn't have said, taught something, said something on the pulpit, pastored something that they should not have done. You know why they lack so much discernment? I wonder about their prayer life. But not only about their prayer life, if they're so prayerful, they'll also be very watchful. Cautious people are the ones who tend to be prayerful the most. If you claim you prayed a lot, I would say this, I don't think you prayed enough. I think that you weren't watchful. If you prayed a lot, then here's something that I want to say. You probably didn't pray right. It doesn't matter how many times you prayed and fasted. Were you praying right? Remember right here, James chapter 4, self. Bible believers have that tendency. They think they're right about something. And then so when they're praying to the Lord, they wasted 1 whole hour praying about self-justification and then ruining the enemy. This is what I do. I believe that you can be right about something and that you should pray that the Lord will handle your enemies. I do that. I said that publicly online too. But you know what I do before I say that? I wonder if you do this in your prayer while you're angry and frustrated. And trust me, this pastor went through it. I say, Lord, if there's something I'm doing wrong, then please show me before I pray something wrong right here. And you know what the Lord does? The Lord, He always does this. I know this. You know what He does? So I am in the right, and the Lord will handle my enemies. And you've seen that happen before, right? When we prayed. It didn't take that long either, how the Lord handled our enemies, right? And those enemies know. They got embarrassed enough. So see? But you know what I do? When I pray concerning them, you know what happens? I always see what's wrong with me first. And when I see that, I know that I'm right about a matter, but trust me, you're not completely right. And then I'll see some things, and then I'll confess it to the Lord. And guess what? The Lord handles my enemies, and I'm in the right at the end. So I hope that this will open your eyes about spiritual warfare, is you're always watchful. So notice right here, concerning about women, what God talked about. He mentions at 1 Timothy chapter 5, and then we'll read verse 5. Now she that is a widow, indeed, and desolate, trusteth in God, and continueth in supplications and prayers, what? Okay, so this woman who prays very frequently is not going to fall into this one. And this one is even devil possession. What you're going to see is at verse 13, and withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. Verse 15, for some already turned aside after what? Satan. There are two things that I question about your prayer life. If you're idle, you got a lot of time on your hands. I would like to ask you what your schedule is like, and if in your schedule you don't have that many things to do. But a second thing is, if you talk a lot, especially gossiping and tattling, the thing is that I wonder if you've been doing verse 5, praying. If you pray a lot, see, it's going to prevent you from these two things, which Satan can use at verse 15. You might say, how can Satan use that, Pastor? Sodom and Gomorrah, you know how they became the city they were? Idleness, abundance of idleness. How can they even think something perverted about homosexuality and even bestiality at Jude? You know why? They had too much time in their hands. And too much time in your hands makes you think a lot of things in your head. And when you think a lot of things in your head, that's where Satan gets you. So that's the reason why you got to watch out for that. Another thing is about your mouth, how Satan can use it is one of the most demonic things I've seen, things that hurt the most is the tongue. What you say will cause pretty much an everlasting effect that the person will not forget even if they forgive you. They're going to remember what you said and they're going to think about you that way. And even if you reconcile and beseech forgiveness, they'll forgive you, but they're not going to forget. That tongue, that's the reason why, got to watch out for your tongue. Don't talk a lot. If you talk a lot, then that's going to be a problem where when you talk a lot, something wrong might even accidentally come out that you didn't even think about. You should be, if you're so good at this, you should be using this for praying. If you're so good with so much time in your hands, idle, you can use that time for praying. You got plenty of time. So that's something you got to watch out for. And Satan can definitely use that, is idleness and the tongue. But if you have a life full of prayer, it's going to prevent these two things. Because when you pray to the Lord more and more and more, the Holy Spirit fills within you more and more and more, and then shows you, hey, that's not right. What you're doing is wrong. Because you're so much filled with the Spirit. Idleness and talking is a fleshy tendency.